Hi guys, welcome to my new video. Today I will share life updates with you and also my impressions from Portugal. Visiting Portugal was a highlight for my trip because I am still planning to find a new asylum. I visited this country during my European journey in September, but don't think that this video is outdated because honestly I just preserved everything I felt in these days in Lisbon. Now I'm reopening it and revisiting, and I want to share what I feel almost half a year later. So now let's go to the sunny Lisbon. In my first days, I walked around Lisbon. I was amazed by the beautiful architecture and narrow streets. I wanted to get to know the city. As usual, I went on a guided tour to learn more about this new country. When I don't know the country enough, I try to remember what parts of this country's culture I have been exposed to kind of create an image about this country. So, for example, when I thought about the United States before visiting it, I thought about American movies and English language. The same with Great Britain and sea, Big Ben, all that stuff. But when I didn't know anything about Portugal besides the age of discoveries and all these seafarers who explored Americas, conquered and colonized people in different parts of the world. So this is what comes to my mind when I think about Portugal. And it is the westernmost European country I'm visiting, and I cannot group it with some other country in my mind. It is completely different. And I was surprised to learn that the Portuguese language is spoken by 260 million people all over the world, and only 10 million lives in Portugal. And all the other countries that speak this language are the former colonies, Brazil, and so on. So I've just visited a cafe on this street. It's called Liberty. It is actually a Russian-owned cafe. And also they have a bookstore, events for Russian-speaking opposition people here. So there is life. And there I finally, for the first time in 2 months, drink this coffee. It's called bumblebee, or in Russian just bumble. It comes from bumblebee because it is a mixture of espresso and orange juice. And I know what you think, like what? It is disgusting, but believe me, it's good. And this drink was specifically invented in Moscow. And now if you see this in the menu, most likely it is a Russian-owned coffee shop. So in Tbilisi they have bumble in such cafes, and here. Caffeine made me to dive into linguistic research, and I realized that I do have connection with this country through this very bumble drink. Maybe I'm overthinking, but here I come from the very east of Russia, literally from the border with China. And China is the region where origins come from. And from there, the Portuguese navigators brought these fruits to Europe, hence the word Mandarin. So oranges were imported to this country in 1635, and it was such a big event so that in many languages orange is related to the name of this country. In Turkish it's Portakal, in Arabic it is Portukaliu, and in the Georgian language Portakhali. And although I said that in Tbilisi I buy this bumble drink only in Russian coffee shops, there is one Georgian owned business and they do have bumble, but they didn't adopt the Russian title. There they call it Ortochlis Americano, literally orange Americano, because it is an espresso shot and juice. So now I'm here in Portugal in a Russian coffee shop buying this orange drink, again calling it bumble. Now I finally completed this cycle by going to the country where the word for orange in some languages originates from, and taken this drink made of oranges but created in Russia. I'm already confused. Anyway, that was just fun fact. the capital is so like not comfortable for people on the wheelchairs, for example, because there are lots of narrow streets and stairs. In that regard, Lisbon reminds me of Vladivostok because of the hills. I wish Vladivostok reminded me of Lisbon in other aspects as well. So this is how steep it gets. I continued my marathon for expat places, visiting both Russian and English-speaking cafes and events. And it's funny how on my very first day in Portugal, I went to the beach for picking up trash. So rejoice, Russian state media. I, as a betrayer of my motherland, literally have to dig up trash to find something to eat. So sad. You know, I love cleanup events, and I found out that one will be in Lisbon. Actually, it turned out to be another town on the shore. I had to take a bus, and the roads took about 1 hour. But honestly, I was so tired on that trip already, and I felt really socially anxious. That's why instead of hanging out with them afterwards, I went to the beach alone and sat there contemplating the ocean and thinking about my sad life. There was a little coffee shop, and I addressed the barista guy in English, but he saw my t-shirt, by the way, this one. It is a merchandise of Russian opposition, and he said, judging by the t-shirt, you can speak Russian with me. And it was so funny. And there was another moment when I went to a coffee shop specifically because I wanted to eat sirniki. It is a cottage pancakes that probably indicate that this place is opened by people from post-Soviet countries. There was a barista girl. I spoke English with her. We both understood that we are non-native English speakers, but still continued speaking. Somehow we switched to Russian, and it was such an ice-breaking, hilarious moment. It felt like, don't pretend, I know who you are, and I felt welcomed there. So yes, in this video, my main goal is to explore Lisbon and Portugal in general, because it is one of the two options for potential immigration, Germany or Portugal. And why these two countries? Because, well, they seem to be the only countries where I can get citizenship faster. If I go here as a digital nomad, it's 5 years of waiting for getting the passport, and in Germany it is 8, but also I heard that it's maybe faster. And in both of these countries you can speak English, but also, of course, I would study the local language. But what I want to share now is that feeling of frustration. I don't know what to do next, because my first day here in Lisbon, I really liked it, and oh my god, it looks so different from any other European country I visit. So now I do have cultural shock, probably because the architecture here is so unique, and also these white cobblestones, a unique feature of Lisbon. And of course these famous cobbles. One YouTuber said that it's very easy to sleep on this cobble. Oh no, the decaying waste, trash and desperation. It feels so unique, and in comparison with Lisbon, Berlin seemed to be so understandable. Germany is closer to Russia geographically, and people there are more in the context of the war, and that is another difference. And since I cannot stay in Georgia forever, I need to think about getting a passport of a European country. That's why visiting Portugal was the last thing in my to-do list, and I had a lot of expectations from this visit. So I thought that when I go to Lisbon, I will finally make the decision whether I want to live here. But honestly, I don't know, because on one hand I like it, on the other hand it is so foreign. And yeah, my camera stands on a trash can, maybe that's why everyone looks at me now. But I don't care, it's fun. And it seems that I will not find my people here anyway, because even if I study Portuguese, which I of course would do from the day one, because this situation is different from Georgian. There's no motivation to study Georgian for me, but here I would study it and maybe even be able to learn it like in 3 years. Very self-confident, but I think I can do this. And also it feels that nobody here will understand me. I mean that I started learning English pretty late. I cannot communicate my feelings. I have too many neural connections, whatever, in my brain related to the Russian language. And then I start to think, okay, but maybe I can find my people in a Russian diaspora. But I went to that Russian cafe and I also watched a lot of podcasts and interviews. And I made this conclusion that mostly people who come to Portugal from Russia, mostly these are people with families, and the topics that interest them are a school for your kid. They all live in these small coastal towns. They go for surfing, they have cars, and it's not for me. I don't feel that I can be comfortable in the expat community here, speaking English, or even if I learn the language to a decent level, still it will require like 5 or more years to feel like at home, and it looks like a dead-end situation. I don't know what to do. And now I compare my feelings with what I felt when I was leaving Russia in 2022. And oh my God, moving out of Russia was so easy because I was running from Russia, I was running from jail and repressions and anxiety that I felt there every day, not being able to speak out. I am a free bird, but now after I settle down in Georgia a little bit, it would be harder for me to leave that country because I started to like it and appreciate it even more. Anyway, this was my rant. After I had some mental breakdown today, I even cried a little. And when I feel anxious like this, I start to think negatively about other people who I'm going to meet. I sign up for this Russian-speaking quiz, fun event, right? I will be in a team with unfamiliar people, but as a coping mechanism, I start to think that, oh, all these people are going to be these snobbish Muscovites, and I'm so different from them. I don't think that it's a good strategy if you want to meet new friends. Anyway, I hope that I will have fun today, and I will update you on that in a couple of hours.
Вторая игра. Обычная классическая игра. Две лиги у нас сегодня, как обычно, Лига Конфуция.
I'm back, and what I could say, I feel that I would not like to live in Portugal. I really like this game, and my teammates were nice and they welcomed me. I think that I did a good job in presenting myself, even though today was such a bad day. And again, it proves my point that a lot of Russian-speaking immigrants here are the people who moved here with their spouses and children, and they have property in Portugal. You know, I feel so different. Anyway, I'm still going to return to Georgia, like I don't have any other option, and I'm not in a hurry. I can just take my time and everything will be alright. I decided to drown my sorrows in some shopping. I wanted to buy something, but also I wanted it to be something special. So I learned that in Lisbon they have local brands. So I bought a blue long sleeve and a shirt. I like it. It's considered like a surf skateboard wear something. When I think about what I felt back then, I think I was stressed too much after 2 months of non-stop traveling. Of course, now I think differently. I don't divide people by Russian-speaking, English-speaking immigrants. It's not about the language, it's more about values and interests. People is not my main concern. It's more important for what I'm moving into a particular country. I've been living in Georgia for 2 years and a half already. I thought that it's temporary, but with time I settled down. I now have all the conditions to continue my YouTube channel. I pay taxes. I even got residence permit. Although currently I'm trying to expand it. I don't know if they will. I will be really lucky. I actually saw a dream about it because being a resident of Georgia enables me to apply for a Schengen visa from Georgia without going to Russia, which is a no for me. That's how I traveled to Europe last year. And basically, when I returned from a European trip, I was in such a strong, acute moment of anxiety, so I got prescribed antidepressants again. I've been taking them for half a year and I calmed down, stopped worrying about the future and the past. I just continued doing what I did, even with better results and productivity. I feel less fear when I communicate with new people, and I feel so relaxed here in Georgia to the point that so far I don't want to move anywhere else. Not because it's the best country. No, I'm not going to stay here forever because the language and overall country's movement away from the European values that I want to have in my country. And many of you message me like, Natasha, you should contact Roman, ask him for advice. And of course, I know about his case and I can apply for the digital nomad visa in Portugal. One important factor is money, of course, because in Portugal, I'll have to pay about 30% of taxes, 30% of my income, and it is okay given that I will invest my time and money into obtaining the European passport. But at the same time, here in Georgia, you have to pay just 1%. There's a big difference, and I'm not sure if I'm ready to lose 30 or even 40% of my income. I still consider Portugal, Germany, or other countries. I'm also going to visit Serbia just to check it out. For these 3 years, I came to the realization that it's freaking not normal that I cannot live in my home country. I cannot be there who I am. I cannot return because it is dangerous and I have to choose another home. And I made this choice when I left Russia. I chose my values and I'm so proud. I mean, it sounds so cool, like I chose truth and freedom. I mean, I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of my choice, but at the same time, I keep reminding myself that it's not normal and I should be angry at the people, at the government who put me into such a situation. But it's okay, at least I'm not in jail in Russia. So these were my impressions from Portugal. It is a very important video and it's not the last one. I'll also post vlogs from Porto and from Spain. It was the last country on my way back to Georgia. Thank you very much for watching this video. Write your opinion in the comments, like this video and subscribe to my channel. You can also support me on Patreon or here on YouTube. Thank you very much and goodbye. Пока-пока.